My name is John Didi, professor of political science at the community colleges of Baltimore County and local political analyst. Welcome to the Maryland State Politics and Government podcast on Substack. Today, I am talking with Ed Hale, candidate for governor of the state of Maryland. Hello, good morning. How are things going?
Good. How are you, John?
Can't complain for a Monday. I've got my shoveling taken care of, so I'm a happy camper.
Good for you.
Yeah. My first question today is, why are you running for governor?
Well, I've always been involved in politics, all my life. If you are a developer, I've built 343 buildings in my career and built numerous businesses from transportation, banks, uh, development, all kinds of things. And so you're connected to politics because you have to get permits and things like that from the local governments and things, and get approvals for trucking. And I had tugboats and barges at Dundalk Marine Terminal. I actually built barges at Bethlehem Steel. I was the last guy to ever build anything in the shipyard. So you had to be involved and connected to politics in some way. And I served as a campaign treasurer for Ben Cardin, for example. He's a Democrat. I know he's a Democrat. He's a friend of mine. Myrna and he and Ben, or Ben and they were just friends of mine. So they asked me to do it, so I did it. I like Ben. I like Myrna. And I've been criticized for doing that kind of thing. But if you're in politics, or if you're in building and you have to be along with the political party that's in favor, otherwise you don't get a permit. It's that simple. And when I made a payroll March 15th, 1975 for my trucking company for the first time, where I actually signed the front of the check for the first time, I became a Republican. Did I change my affiliation? No, because it would have been dumb at that point, because the ruling party are Democrats. Have I voted for and supported Republicans? Yes. And I don't make any bones about that. I don't sugarcoat stuff, John. I just don't. And that's the way it is. And if people don't like it, don't vote for me.
Hunting, good way of explaining it. That's the thing. I always like to joke with my students, and I tell people it takes a lot of Teamsters to pour cement, and it takes a lot of political stuff to get things done.
Oh, yeah. And if you don't do it and you don't abide by the rules or things that I just talked about, you're stupid. And I didn't fall off the turnip truck coming out of Dundalk.
How would you specifically work to lower energy prices? Are expansions of solar, wind, something that you would support? Would you look at more things maybe related to natural gas? Because right now that has become a major issue for a lot of people. They're opening up their BG&E bills and they're saying, I already turned down the thermostat a few degrees. How's it getting higher?
That's a great question to start off with, because tomorrow at 10 o'clock, I'm doing a press conference at the former site of the Carroll Island plant, which was demolished. All of this is a big empty field. I went there right after the snowstorm and scouted out a spot, and I did this. And got a call coming through. So I did this, and with the expectation that most of the TV stations are going to be there if they have the crews to go there. And I have been a politician for 10 months. I have been a businessman for the rest of my life, which is a considerable period of time. I started immediately looking at what's going on with this Green New Deal, global warming, and all this. And you're considerably younger than me. And back in the 60s and 70s, I think Time Magazine did an article that we're all going to freeze to death. There's going to be a global freeze. So now we have all these people like Al Gore and everybody saying, "Oh, it's Green New Deal," and uh, this Greta Thun or whatever her name is. These are, to me, are crazy people. And I believe that it's impractical to think that we need to destroy all of these power plants. You don't do that. So fossil fuels are in abundance. They're cleaner than ever. We have them there. And the result is with all of them that have been torn down, and that one demolished at Carroll Island, and one coming up at Brandon Shores in Anne Arundel County, your county, they're going to tear that down in 2029. To me, it's stupid. You don't do this. And whoever, it's ill-conceived, and the time for, realizing that fossil fuels are in abundance here, we should use it, should go get into place. So my answer is this. There's four of them that have been decommissioned. We should recommission them. And I was not a good student, as I was telling you before we started this interview. I have learned how to finance nuclear power plants, which is what I did all my life. I did financing for all kinds of things. And I did a lot of reclamation of properties and things like this and looked at things from the standpoint of, is it clean? Is it doable? Can you get permits? Can they be financed? Financing being the key ingredient to this. So nuclear will work and it's clean and it can be done pretty much around the state with these smaller plants. So that's recommissioning the plants that have been shut down, rebuilt or building new ones using gas and coal, which we have an abundance of, and then doing nuclear.
Okay. One of the big issues related to the state of Maryland, the budget, is the blueprint. And I've talked to a lot of county officials across the state, and they're very concerned about the financial obligations long term for the blueprint. Maybe things are good this year and maybe next year, but long term, it's going to be a problem. If you became governor of Maryland, what would you do about the blueprint?
I would eliminate it and do school choice. I would do school choice because, it just what we have in play right now and that is on the books is not going to work. And if you go to, I have a farm in Talbot County, and you go to the Talbot County people and you tell them, listen, we have a shortfall. We're going to have to raise property taxes because of this blueprint. There is not going to be anybody's not going to agree with that, and that's going to happen all over the state. We can't be taxed anymore because of this education thing, which has been a total abysmal failure. $20,000 per student, and it just doesn't work. It's not working. I think we have to get into and do a full blown getting into this and look into school choice. I've got for the nuclear plant, for example, I tell everybody all the time, we have to get this started now. It's going to be 9 months to the or not 9 months, 8 months actually to the primary. I mean to the general. So we need to do this. We need to do it now. To wait and have Westmore, who's running for president, not doing anything is really really hurting everybody because we have the expensive electric bills, ineffectual education. We need to do something now, and it's a shame that nobody's doing anything. We're circling the drain here.
Another financial issue related to things in Maryland is Medicaid. One out of every four Marylanders are on Medicaid. And this is kind of a little bit of a two-part question. Part one, what would you do to kind of get more people off of Medicaid? How would you kind of deal with that problem? Because Medicaid costs are only increasing. The second thing is you talked a little bit before about dealing with a lot of these problems. When you look at something like Medicaid in the budget, where would your cuts maybe come in to deal with this?
Well, I believe that you look at it from the competition standpoint, eliminate the boundaries that Maryland has and allow the free market to open. Like if Costco or Walmart wants to have insurance, allow them to have insurance, sell insurance here, have a competitive marketplace, open that up because right now it's very restricted.
And another aspect I'll get into is this. There's been a lot of talk recently about state spending. There's been accusations related to the aspect of, try to word this correctly and politely, that there is some fraud going on in the state as far as relates to some of these agencies, SNAP, etc.
Well,
Do you believe that there should be a state inspector general, just like Baltimore City has one with Isabel Cumming, and just like Baltimore County has one, and Kelly Madigan was there for a long time? What should be done to kind of root out some of the questionable financial things that people feel are out there?
well, I believe that we should have an inspector general. I've seen the interviews with the two affirmation ladies, and I think they're very sharp. I like them, and I'd like to meet them and talk to them about this because I think that we should definitely have it. I believe that nobody's watching over this stuff, and some of the things I've heard about are unbelievable. We have a lot of 501c3s that are not really administered properly. Are they properly corporately have they addressed everything they have to in the state to be legit? And most of them haven't. If they're not, we should stop that. We should cut that. We have to make the cuts because statutorily we have to have and legally, constitutionally, we have to have a budget that is right now. We definitely have to have a budget. People are sending me messages about Dan Cox. It's funny. It's popping across my screen. But we need to get this. We need to get this under control. The expenses have to get under control. I'm not going to run for anything else except for this. I'm running because I think our state is being poorly run, and I believe that we should do it. And I'm the person that can go in there with I can create jobs because that's all I've done all my life, John. My father worked at a gas electric company, and I created every job there is, in my corporate sphere, banks, the Baltimore blast. I mean, you name it, I've done that, and in my trucking and everything. And I was the largest employer in the port, and I would really go after creating jobs, and I would make sure that there's corporate accountability with the bureaucrats out there, and they're not going to like me when they see me show up. They're not going to like me coming in there and looking at things that I've done in the past. And what I've done in the past has worked. A couple of them failed, but most of it has worked because I try to have fiscal responsibility inside the corporations I'm involved with.
Since you brought it up, I will ask about it. What are your thoughts about Dan Cox?
I don't know him. I just don't know him. I know he's a Trump guy, is what I've been told, and I really don't know him. And I've said this about this guy Hershey, who I don't know. Hershey's going to run. Cox is going to run. There's a guy named Myrick who's bad mouthing me all the time. Let him run. Let's have a contest. This is the United States of America. Let's get it on.
Okay. Another issue I'll ask about is related to something that people have talked about a lot for years. When I first moved to Maryland 35 years ago, first week I'm here, I said, I'm going out to the store and grab a six pack. So I go to the Giant. I say, where's the beer? And discovered that there are different laws in the state of Maryland regarding beer. I grew up in Western New York where there was a beer aisle in the Wegmans, an entire aisle just for beer and wine, etc. Do you believe that it is time to maybe relook at this issue and say, let the stores sell some beer and wine?
Oh, absolutely. I'm a free market guy. Open it up. Let's do it. Like I said, you want to sell insurance in Costco and Walmart, happy birthday. Let's do it. If you want to sell beer and wine in Harris Teeter or Acme, let's do it. Have it accessible to everybody and let the market drive where everybody goes.
One of the issues that's come up also in this race is the issue of taxes. What would be your situation regarding approaching taxes? What would you consider cutting? What would you consider increasing? What are your thoughts on that?
I would eliminate DEIP immediately. Actually, I have to get my car inspected today. So I'm going to have to leave here, go to some ridiculous cash grab from the state with a car that doesn't pollute anything and pay something like, I don't know what it is, 40 or 60 bucks or something like that. That's dumb. I would eliminate that. I would eliminate here's a big one that I haven't really spoken about that out loud, but I am tomorrow. I would definitely take the CPI increases on the gas tax, which is just automatically happens without any accountability with anybody in the legislature. They could just summarily raise it and without any oversight. If the CPI goes up, the gas tax goes up. I would eliminate that.
Next question I'll ask is within a couple weeks, you have to officially file for your run for governor. You also have to select a lieutenant governor. What qualities or type of people are you looking for that position?
Well, I'd like to have somebody that could step in the event that something goes wrong with me, that your heartbeat away from the actual head of being the head of the state. I would want to have somebody that could do it, somebody that's articulate enough, smart enough, that could do it and run things. Somebody that's made a payroll in the past. By the way, I probably, somebody said, oh, I can't get anybody, no Republican would want to be with me because I've been a Democrat. I have at least 20 or 30 people that have reached out to me, would love to be lieutenant governor. And I've chosen one, and I'm going to announce this person next week or two. So I'm going to do this. And it's somebody that can step in and be on top of all the communications and has run businesses in the past and knows what they're doing when it comes to making a payroll. To me, that's a key ingredient. I think that's what's wrong with a lot of the governors I've seen around the country. They haven't
Okay.
made a payroll.
And that is an important aspect when you're looking for people for running for office as far as real world experience. Next question I'll ask relates to a concern a lot of people have. The state bond rating has gone down, and the Spending and Affordability Committee in December had a meeting, and there was discussion that could go down further. What would be your approach as far as governor to basically get that bond rating back up? What actions do you think you could take or do to kind of improve the state's finances in that area?
You have to make the cuts necessarily. You have to create jobs, make the cuts necessary in the bureaucracy, and get the budget balanced and get that back. I was a very, very good friend of William Donald Schaefer. I loved the guy. He was a big promoter of businesses and created jobs and did a lot of positive things. That's no, I got out of the Air Force, didn't know him at all, John. And I was in Canton with a little trucking company. I had 10 trucks. And I met him because he wanted to buy my property. I didn't know him. I saw him on TV. I was very intimidated and went to see him. But here's a guy that knew right away that you had to create jobs, you had to improve things, or else you die. And what we're looking at right now in the city and the way things are going around in the city is very disheartening to me. And you need to create that. You need to make the cuts. But he would always talk. To answer your question specifically, we could never lose our AAA bond rating. It's going to cost us more to borrow money to do things like infrastructure. I believe very strongly that we should never do this red line that's going to go from Social Security and Woodlawn into Canton. It's going to cost $3 billion or $4 billion. Why don't you take that and do some road improvements with all the potholes all over the place? Make the lights coordinate, things like this. I believe that you should do things like that from a practical side. That is a better way to spend our money.
The final question I'll ask is it's become a national issue, but could end up becoming a state issue in many ways. Do you think the federal government should be funding ICE at a time when there is so much unrest in the country, especially in places like Minnesota with the deaths of Renee Good and Alex Pretty?
I believe that if ICE is empowered by our government to do the job, to pick up these people, particularly the criminal aliens, to get them out of our state, I'm all for it.
Okay. I want to thank you again for your time, and I appreciate taking the time with me to talk about all these things today, and good luck on the campaign trail.
Okay, thank you, John.